Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our webinar dedicated to document publication requirements. This is the second webinar in our current series of virtual discussions at the Luxembourg Stock Exchange. And as the title of the session suggests, over the course of the next hour, you will hear from our relationship management team everything you need or want to know from an issuer perspective about the listing and the related publication requirements, but also about the ad hoc and ongoing disclosure obligations, and even more importantly, about the suite of innovative solutions that the Luxembourg Stock Exchange has implemented over the past years and months to make your listing and disclosure experience as smooth as possible. As the leading exchange for the listing of international debt instruments, you can surely imagine there is a vast number of documents that find their way to the Luxembourg Stock Exchange every day. This year has been no exception at all, but the rise of the COVID-19 has actually exacerbated the need for more efficient and more digital solutions to allow us to continue operating in this challenging environment. So following on from the success of the first webinar, which looked in more details into the Prospectus Regulation and its associated requirements, what we want to do today is to turn to the more technical aspects of document publication, of document dissemination, storage, and filing. Now, over the past years, there's been a number of important regulatory developments or regulatory frameworks that have come into place, and I don't want to steal the show from my colleague Carlo, who will in a moment lead you through this, but we can name a few that will resonate with you. We talk about Transparency Directive, Market Abuse Regulation, and of course, Prospectus Regulation. And all of these came with a number of impacts on issuers and market participants. And as an exchange, we very much see it as our duty to actually help and assist our issuers that come to the regulated market or to the Euro MTF to actually adapt to these changes and to overcome the challenges that their implementation may present. And indeed, these frameworks are no short of challenges, and you know, we can discuss probably long hours around the disclosure only. But I think the important thing is that they are not fixed in stone. And as a famous Greek philosopher, Heraclitus, once said, there's nothing permanent except change. And so we definitely observe, of course, that regulations keeps evolving, and that on our side, we collectively need to continue adapting. And against that background, I think having reliable partners who can provide agile and efficient, effective solutions to deal with those changes can take really the worry out of the listing and disclosure process. And that is very much how we see ourselves at the Luxembourg Stock Exchange. We want to be your partners. We want to provide you with solutions that help adapting you to the environment and that ease your listing and security servicing journey. And before handing over to my colleagues, let me just highlight a couple of recent developments or initiatives that may and that will, for some, surely affect the way we work and which will once again require adaptations from the market. And the first one is the Market Abuse Regulation and its possible review. There's been a very interesting detailed report from ESMA, which gives us a glimpse of market participants' views on the current process and areas that are perceived as being pain points. And just to name a few, I think, you know, disclosure, of course, but inside information, insiders list, and managers transaction are among the points that came loud and clear. So we shall see how the regulators react based on that report and how they adapt the MAR framework. The second example is even more recent and relate to the experience we're having through this COVID crisis. This is the so-called quick fix to the Prospectus Regulation, in particular with the proposed EU recovery prospectus, which seeks to simplify, albeit temporarily, but still simplify the equity issuers' access to regulated markets and Euro MTF. and SME growth market. Through the introduction of a simplified form of prospectus, and also through a kind of shortened approval process by national competent authorities. I think those two examples show how the authorities can also listen to the needs of the market and can propose adaptations, particularly adaptations to make sure that we keep capitals flowing to the real economy to limit the damages that the global pandemic will cause. So without further ado, let me hand over to Carlo Oli, our Head of Relationship Management, who will provide a much more comprehensive overview of the current publication requirements. And he will be helped by Carlo Oli, our Commercial Director, and Vincent Izeta from the Relationship Management team to provide more details about the solutions we can offer. Last but not least, Carlo, sorry for that, but there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be more than happy to take any questions at the end of the session, if time allows, of course, but we'll make sure we save some time for this. All right, without further ado, Carlo, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Arnaud, for this very complete introduction, and you did not steal my show, no worries. Well, also from my side, welcome to this second webinar organized by the Luxembourg Stock Exchange. Very pleased to have you all on board. We are trying to give you an overview on publication requirements. We have seen indeed, or why did we choose this topic today? Well, we have seen that since last year, when the Prospectus Regulation has entered into force, we received a lot of questions from issuers and also from intermediaries on their publication requirements, be it for the prospectuses, where we have new obligations now to publish them electronically on the website for at least 10 years, be it for the final terms, be it on the advertisements, or potentially supplements that need to be published in the same way. So we are trying to give you an overview now of these different requirements, and above all on the solutions that we can offer you as Luxembourg Stock Exchange when it comes to publication of prospectuses and related documents on our website. Furthermore, as Arnaud has already said in his introduction, we will also give you an overview of certain ongoing publication requirements resulting from the Transparency Directive and also from the Market Abuse Regulation. We will have live demos of the different tools that we have in place now to allow issuers to fulfill their obligations. But before going into the details of these live demos, let me maybe try to share my screen and do a little presentation. Try to share my screen. Okay. Can you see the slides? Okay. Yeah. So document publication services. As I said, if we start with the publication obligations coming from the Prospectus Regulation, we see that there are certain novelties that have been introduced. To start with the new obligation for issuers who have prospectuses with documents incorporated by reference, then the prospectus should contain hyperlinks to all these documents incorporated by reference. And these hyperlinks must, first of all, open the document directly. So it should not be a general link to a website, but it must open the document directly. And it should remain valid for at least 10 years. And there we have seen that in a number of prospectuses that we checked initially, that was a huge problem because issuers typically referred to their own websites. But even after a few weeks, we saw that already a number of these hyperlinks simply didn't work. And so that's where we have now put in place our hyperlink service called Plus, the permalink upload service, which we will also show you in a live demo how it works, which will allow and which allows already issuers to have a very easy way to generate these hyperlinks which the stock exchange will then generate on their behalf, and where we guarantee also the validity of at least 10 years. Then still under the Prospectus Regulation, there is also this new obligation to publish certain documents on an electronic way, either on the website of the issuer or on the website of the financial intermediary, or on the website of the stock exchange. So this is the famous Article 21(2)(c). And this is true for prospectuses, but also for final terms, supplements, and documents incorporated by reference, which need to be published in exactly the same way. And there is also now an obligation to have documents on display, which are mentioned in the prospectus, where issuers have to mention also then the website where these documents will be displayed. And both of these obligations can be done by using the Luxembourg Stock Exchange website. The documents on display is a new service that we are currently developing, but we will also show you later on where issuers will have the possibility to use our website for the documents on display. Then moving to the Transparency Directive, as you may know, under this directive, issuers who have a listing on a regulated market, when they have regulated information, they have the famous 3 obligations. First of all, they need to publish this information and to disseminate it to the market, to inform the market about this information. The second obligation is then also to store this information with the officially appointed mechanism, the OEM, which in the case of Luxembourg is the Luxembourg Stock Exchange. And the third obligation is to file the same document, the same information also to the regulator, to the CSSF in the case of Luxembourg. And here, as you may know, we have our first tool which allow issuers to fulfill these 3 obligations by using one single tool, which is offered by the Luxembourg Stock Exchange. So again, here we will show you how it works also later on. And then the third point is about market abuse regulation, where you know that issuers need to disclose to the public also certain inside information, price-sensitive information, and managers transactions. And here again, we have our FNS, which is part of the first tool, and as Carlo will explain later on. The FNS is our financial news service, which is really the tool to disseminate information to the market, and which can be used also in this context to publish inside information under market abuse regulation. This FNS, the financial news service, is, by the way, a fully recognized service. If you go to the website of the CSSF, you will see that they have published a list of accepted providers for the dissemination of information to the market. And FNS is one of these of the providers, so who can fulfill this obligation. The same is also true for this kind of information, which needs to be stored with the OEM in the context of market abuse regulation. And here again, our first tool, which includes the official appointed mechanism, can be used in that respect to fulfill also this obligation. Before passing over to my colleague Carlo Hubli, who will be the master of ceremonies today, he will introduce the different topics, and he will also, at the end, it's not in the slide here, but he will also present a new tool that we have currently developed regarding the filing of final terms to the CSSF. As you know, there are some new obligations entering into force by the end of the month, and Carlo will explain this service. So Q&A, Carlo has mentioned, please use it. We would be happy to have your questions also on the topic. We know that there were a lot of uncertainties, and the objective here is really to guide you, to give you clarity. And if you have questions, if we are not clear, please let us know, and we try to give you the relevant information. Then I would stop here and hand over to the Master of Ceremonies, Carlo Hubli. We have 2 Carlos today, and Carlo, the floor is then yours.
Thank you, Carlo. So As already mentioned, we want to be a bit more practical today, get into the practicalities of document publication. And we want to do it in some kind of a typical chronology that you could have with regards to the life cycle of a security or the life cycle of a file. Now, to start with, we have the prospectus and all the work that you are doing around prospectus. A first hurdle that you may encounter there is under the Prospectus Regulation, the new requirements with regard to incorporation of documents by reference. There, as Carlo already mentioned, the requirement actually is that the document incorporated by reference need to be represented by a technical hyperlink. This hyperlink, when clicking on it in the electronic version of the prospectus, must open directly to the document, so must directly display the document, may not go via another kind of generic site, website repository. And that's a tricky point because, as already mentioned, we have checked a certain number of prospectuses that have been approved. And obviously, for some issuers, it is a real issue to make these documents or these links persistent over time, because the persistency over time is the key issue here. The requirement is that the hyperlink needs to be valid and to stay valid for 10 years. Now, in terms of IT, 10 years is pretty much close to eternity, because you may have various variant sequences and versions of softwares, document systems may evolve, etc. So there are plenty of IT issuances behind. So on our side at the exchange, we are used for years and years to handle enormous amounts of documents and to make them persistent over time. So to carry them forward throughout various versions of systems and to ensure that these documents remain available. Based on that, we decided last year to make available a service to the outside world, so to our clients and other stakeholders, that would allow them also to take profit from our capacities in that IT area, and that in an easy way. So we propose the Plus service as a generation engine for these hyperlinks, allowing you to upload documents to our databases and then to receive back a hyperlink that you can incorporate into the prospectus, and that will be fully fulfilling the requirements of the Prospectus Regulation. Now, how does this work? So these services that we are providing are operating under two modes. So you can directly access to this system in a self-service mode. So you can access the system directly. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whenever needed, you can very conveniently generate your hyperlinks for your documents on your own. The only thing needed is to have an access to the My Books environment, which is accessible through the internet site of the Luxembourg Stock Exchange, and where we operate all the different solutions for our customers. Now, we want to make you see a bit what this is looking like, and I invite my colleague Vincent Isetter, who is the Plus expert on our site and also member of the relationship management team, just to provide you with the first short live demo of the service today. Vince, I hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Carlo. So first of all, I will say good morning to everyone, and thank you for attending this webinar. So I will dive directly into this tool, the Plus tool. So I will share my screen and show you how easy it is to create an hyperlink. So I hope you can see now the screen. So it's the land page where you can drag and drop your document you want an hyperlink for. So you can just click on it and just choose a document, a PDF document, because you're not allowed to use another document than PDF. And I can use an annual report because it's a kind of document you need to incorporate by reference in a prospectus. So I can open it, and here you have the page where you can put the description. You have the document here which is mentioned, and you can put hyperlink or whatever description you want. It's quite easy. Then after, you just have to click next. You will have an applicant ID, but of course here I will use one for testing purposes. You can choose here your invoice entity, because it could be another one than the one who is the applicant, the one who is requesting the hyperlink. Then you will have here all the information. You will have the price also for the service. You can add, if you want, a reference here that you will get in your invoice. Then you can get the links. And you can either request for an invoice, or you can also pay by credit card. So that's very convenient too. Then now we need to wait just a little bit to upload the document. Then we will get the hyperlink. So now we have the link that is generated. You can either download the hyperlink even in an Excel file. So you just need to click on export. So you will get the file, but you can also get an email. So here I can just show you the Excel file. As you can see, it has been downloaded here, but it will depend on your browser, of course. You can have it somewhere else, but here it's here. And I will need to share my screen on the Excel file to show you how it looks like. So that's the kind of file you will receive. So as you can see, you have the submission informations on one tab. Then here you have the links, and you will have the file name, when it has been created, when it expires, and you will have here the link. And this link, as explained by Carlo earlier, it will just point directly to the document, and I will show you right now how it works. I'll copy the link. I go back here. Then you will have the plus annual report here that we have created. And you will have it directly when you click on it. So you have a direct link to the document, to the PDF that you wanted to incorporate by reference. So that's how easy it is to use our tool. So if you need more information, of course, you can contact us, contact me. You can also have more information, detailed information on our website. So now I can hand over to you, Carlo. I hope that was clear enough. And thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Vincent. The good part here is I see that we already got a question in the Q&A, and let's take me the so the question was, can I use one hyperlink from the Plus service for the several documents all being made available at the same place, or do I rather need one separate link for a document incorporated by reference? Let's say once you would, the question here, the answer to the question is, it is all about the lifetime of the hyperlink. So if you are working on several documents, for example, at the same time, and you would already have a hyperlink generated for, let's say, an annual report, then you could use this hyperlink for several documents. But please be aware that the lifetime of a hyperlink that we generate is 10 years plus 1. So the lifetime overall will be about 11 years. Now, keep this please in mind, because if you would just reuse a hyperlink that you have generated this year, for example, next year in the next prospectus, then you are at risk that you are going to breach the requirement of the 10 years time. What is interesting is that we do provide in the Excel file that you get as a confirmation from the system, you are going to have the date, so the latest date, so the expiry date of the hyperlink also. Please keep this in mind. So it is not our aim to make you pay for each and every link systematically. So you could use the same link generated for several documents on which maybe you would be working at the same time, but please keep in mind the end date, so the 10 years requirement. I hope that this answers to the question. Good. Now, let's assume that you have your prospectus now ready. Then you're going through the well-known application process with the Luxembourg Stock Exchange. Maybe one of some next webinars would also be about some kind of quick reminder or quick discussion and presentation of the listing process itself. But let's say for sake of this webinar, you have applied and security is going to be listed. Now the next point that you're going to have is where to publish the prospectus and what to do with documents on display. So I'm going to hand back to Carlo Olli. Carlo will take us through the website of Luxembourg Stock Exchange, explain a bit what is published where, on what references to the publication need to be made at the prospectus level, and what our application form tells about the publishing requirements. So back to you, Carlo. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlo, for this. Indeed, let me maybe share my screen in that respect. Can you see the website? Okay, thank you. Yeah, prospectus publication, as already announced, has been a topic now with the new requirements resulting from the Prospectus Regulation. And maybe one thing, we have also seen that things were maybe not absolutely clear. As you may know, the regulators, the national competent authorities, have the obligation to publish all the prospectuses that they have approved. And in the case of Luxembourg, the CSSF has delegated this task to the Luxembourg Stock Exchange. So we do publish on our website all prospectuses approved by the CSSF. And maybe you are not all aware of the fact that you can find this list also on our website. If you go on our homepage under Market Data and News, you see here market news. You have a lot of interesting information. If you click on market news, you have here information on on new listings, on upcoming listings. So a lot of interesting information that maybe not all of you are aware of. And you also have here the link to the CSSF approvals. So all the prospectus is approved by the CSSF. Here we announced the most recent ones, but you can find all of them also if you search for them. So here you find the latest prospectus is approved by the CSSF. Over the last days, you see, for example, that if we take, let's say, UBS here, registration document that has also been notified to a number of host member states. That we have all the information here. So, and you also have the documents incorporated by reference, which are published also on this page. So if you are looking for the latest approvals from the CSSF, this is the web page that will show you this information. Now, important to know that issuers, as they have this obligation to electronically publish their prospectuses, they cannot rely on the fact that we publish on behalf of the CSSF all the prospectuses. So they cannot simply say, well, they are anyway published on this section of the web page, so we do not have to do anything else. But as you know, the stock exchange also approves publishes all kinds of prospectuses, even if they are not approved by the CSSF or for the Euro-MTF market. Now, what we have done in that respect to give issuers certainty that they comply with the publication requirements on our website, by using our website, we have added in our application form. So this is now the general application form that issuers use when they apply for a listing on our market. And on the first page, we have a footnote actually, where we say that by signing this application form, the issuer accepts that the prospectus is actually published on our website in accordance with this Article 21 2C. And so by having this application form signed, he can be sure that he has fulfilled, or he has kind of mandated the Luxembourg Stock Exchange to publish the prospectus on its behalf. And he can also confirm then to the regulator, if the regulator will ask for it on how the prospectus has been published, he can confirm that he has mandated actually the Luxembourg Stock Exchange to publish the prospectus. So that's for the request to publish. Now, if we go back to the website, now we have various where are prospectuses typically published in that case. How can you find them? We have on our home page we have a search function. We have it basically on every page. Where you have several possibilities to search for information, be it on given securities, be it on programs, or be it on documents. Now, I would say in most of the cases, when investors are looking for information on a security, they are looking for a document, then they will search by ISIN. They will have an ISIN, so you can type your ISIN here. Yeah, so we have here the Adidas bond that has been issued recently, where we have a lot of information on our website, on the security, on the trading, on the market information, and also then on the documentation, also the prospectus that we were looking for in this case. And here we can see that the prospectus is published. If you click on See More, you will see that there are also 3 documents incorporated by reference into the prospectus. And so that's exactly what will be required then under the Prospectus Regulation. So now what we have seen also very often is that issuers or legal advisors or banks on the arranging side have asked us if we have to include a reference to the web page where the prospectus will be published. In the case of advertisements that are published, for example, do we have to include now this specific link that we could copy and paste from your website? And this will not be required. We have also discussed this with the CSSF, with our regulator, who agreed that actually a general reference to the stock exchange website, to bourse.lu, will be sufficient in that case. Also, the issuers do not have to have the very specific link, which might also change over the time, but it will be enough to simply make a reference to the general stock exchange website address. That's it for this standalone bond. Now, obviously, as you know, a lot of issuers are using also programs when they issue bonds, and you can also then, for example, search for a base prospectus or for a given program. Then you have the possibility here to use the program search function. If we search, for example, for the BMW prospect programs, you can search this way, and you will, in this case, see that we have two programs. This is the active one. If we click on that one, we see that yeah, we have some general information on this program, the number of securities that have been issued under the program. We also have the various issuers that can issue under the program. And of course, and that's what we were looking for here, is the base prospectus related to that program, and also with information on the passporting. See more, there you have additional information, for example, also the former base prospectuses that the issuer had for the previous years. Of course, every time also with the documents incorporated by reference. We have also, if we go back to the program card, we also see which securities, which tranches have been issued under this program. And if we click now on, let's say, on this one, on the first one, we will hopefully see that, yeah, again, we have information on the securities themselves, on the market, and also here the final terms related to this tranche, together with the base prospectus under which this tranche has been issued. Now, in this case, it's the most recent base prospectus. If now you had a tranche which had already been issued maybe a few years ago, then we would also show here the base prospectus under which the tranche had been issued at that time. Also, we will always have the two documents available. If we go now again to this base prospectus, maybe also something that I can show if we open it. So that's the base prospectus for BMW, as we have seen. And if we also to show you that this is also an example where an issuer has used also our Plus service for the generation of the hyperlinks. So as you can see here, there is a section documents incorporated by reference. And if we go there, we can see that you will see here that the hyperlinks that he has put in the prospectus have actually been generated by our Plus service. So if we click on one, this will open then also the document incorporated by reference. In this case, it's one of the annual reports that this issuer has incorporated by reference. Now, maybe one last thing is that we have talked about documents on display. For the time being, this is not yet fully developed as a service. We are currently working on a version where issuers can then submit the documents that they have mentioned in the base prospectus or in the standalone prospectus as being available on the website. And so we will also offer issuers the possibility to send us these documents, and that we can then publish them in this section. So there will be a new section, documents on display, where this kind of information will be displayed. And this service is probably about to be ready as of January next year. We will, of course, inform you about this. There will be a new application form that we are currently working on that issuers have to send to us with information on the documents that they would like to have published under this section, a little bit like what you are used to do already, as we will see later on, by using first. If you send us a notice to be published, it's a little bit the same way that the way we will publish it will work. I think that's it from my side. Yeah, if there are questions on prospectus publication, feel free to ask them. If not, I would then maybe hand over again to Carlo for the next session. Thank you.
Thanks, Carlo. Yeah, that's the nice thing when we are working from home with having various qualities of web accesses, etc., etc. Good. From my side, so document on display, January next year. Actually, the different types that we have there, typically we have got many requests for example, the publication of the articles of association. So documents that are more on the issuer level, or documents that could be more at the security level or at the program level, like for example, trust deeds and so on. So this will be, I think, a very handy addition and a very good solution to complete our current offering. Now, we have discussed about the hyperlinks, we have discussed about prospectus publication, discussed a bit what's coming up for the documents on display. Now, let's say we are in the lifetime of the security, and then we have to address all the various ongoing disclosures, or all the disclosures one would like to do or one has to do under the different regulations. That side, as already mentioned, we have the first service in place. Going to have a quick look into that service. So if we're going back to our website, so we still have the website of the Luxembourg Stock Exchange, and here you have a little button which is My Books, which actually is our portal, so where you can log into the different services that you are allowed or that you have subscribed for use. Now, going into the first application, let's try to do a new submission. So actually, as Carlo already mentioned, you have the 3 basic obligations that could be required to fulfill. That's actually store the information. There we have the section of the ORM storage. You could have to file, the filing obligation with the CSSF, and you have the obligation of efficient dissemination towards the public. So for a given document, I always can do it at several levels of depending on what is actually needed to be done with the document. For the sake of this short presentation, I'm just going to do an FNS publication, i.e. the dissemination to the outside world. If I click this FNS, what does this mean? This means that a document that we are going to submit now into the process is going to be disseminated on our side to some 30 addressees. Who are these addressees? These addressees are news agencies, press agencies, financial information providers like Bloomberg, Refinitiv, Fix. And so you make sure that actually your information is broadly distributed and may also reach at the end, which is intended, also your counterparties or the investors. Now, once we have checked the type of submission, then we can see what category of information we want to disseminate. So here we have all the different types that of submissions of documents that we may have. And you see, if I check, for example, OAM and CSSF, then we are going to have less of these choices, because actually under the transparency and market abuse regulation, these are the types of dissemination of information that are most commonly used and that are defined. Now, going back to our FNS filing, let's try to do a security announcement. So corporate, let's say an early redemption, cancellation, or delisting of securities. So that's the category that actually we now have chosen. Now, a publication date, so which is important. So we have the option to do the publication immediately after we are going to have finalized this process, or we can put an embargo, so a delayed publication. Let's say for the sake of this short example, we just want to send it out on Monday morning, 10 o'clock Luxembourg time. Here, from your browser settings, we are detecting actually your time zone. And automatically converting this into Luxembourg local time. This is very handy if, for example, you are located in the UK, so we may have some time difference, and you can actually decide on your timing on your side. Now, we have set the delay to November 2nd, 10 a.m. Luxembourg time, and now we need to have a look at the document. So again, uploading a document is pretty easy here. Let's take this publication and let's upload it into the system. Now, what the system is going to do, there is some nice intelligence behind, because first of all, our system is going to analyze this document, try to identify what language setting we have for that document, and looking up, do I have known ISIN numbers or recognized issuers in that document, so that can already prepare the publication. Once we have done this small step, we can go to the description. Here, as you're going to see, the system has extracted 3 ISIN numbers, all of which actually are listed on the Luxembourg Stock Exchange, and the issuer which is associated to these ISIN numbers. So that's a very handy process. Then, in case we would have an event date, so let's say delisting going to happen later in the month, so let's say the 26th of November, we can set this date here. Then we see that the event date will be the 26th of November. Now we have done actually most of what is required. We can review the document. So if I click here, then it will open the document again, so that I can check on whether I have got the right document to file. Now, going further, we have the validation step, where the system is going to inform us what actually are we going to do. So we're going to do an FNS and media distribution on an early redemption of security. It is actually not considered being a regulated information. We have the information on the issuer, and we have the event date and our embargo date. And again, the reference to the submitted documents. Now, to finalize, again, we have the payment section, where actually you have the information to have this billed by yourself, to yourself or to a third party. And you could also pay online by credit card this submission. And can also add here, as already mentioned, our reference. So So this text that you're going to input, you have 3 zones actually will appear actually on your invoice or also on your credit card information. Then we have the price, and now it's already done. We can send it, and we are going to see that we have now 1 pending submission, which is actually foreseen to be published the 2nd of November, 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, if ever, for whatever reason, you will still want to bring changes to this publication, you can edit. You could have you could want to publish it immediately. So if you're going to push this button, then we are immediately going to release the publication. Or if you made an error, for example, you can also do a deletion, confirm that deletion, and that's then done. So that's just in a nutshell the first application, and you see actually how simple and handy it is to make a document public. So coming back, there is so far one last point for me to address. That's actually the upcoming service also on the final terms filing. That's an interesting point. You may know that as of the last weekend of November this year, the national competent authorities will also have to file the received final terms back to ESMA. ESMA to build up a global European repository for final terms. Now, what changes to the current process? As you know, currently you are able to go to the CSSF website, upload the final terms, key in a couple of data elements, I think 6 or 7 data elements, and then the filing is done. Now, since ESMA wants to receive more descriptive data on the final terms filings, that means that the number of data items or the number of data fields that you will have to file for a final terms upload on the CSSS website will increase to up to 30 to 40 data items that you will have to fill in prior to be able to do that filing. Now, for some time, we have another service which is called e-listing, which is the automated filing of new issuances with the Luxembourg Stock Exchange. We already proposed the automated filing of final terms to the CSSF. That means that over time, we have built an automated interface between the Luxembourg Stock Exchange and CSSF that allows to automatically upload final terms to their repository and file. We are currently in process of upgrading our API link to the CSSF in order to be able to file also all the final terms under the new requirements that will be in place as of end of November. Now, many stakeholders have asked us on whether they could delegate the final terms filing also to the Luxembourg Exchange. And we are glad to do that. So also as a managed service, this means that today you are submitting your listing requests in a mail for final terms, in a mail to our IPM team, to the Bolide, the LU email address of the IPM team, so of the listing team. You can do that, so you can continue to do that, and you can add now just a request also to file the final terms to the CSSF. Doing that, our teams will do this automated filing to the CSSF on your behalf. The service, by the way, is not totally free of charge, but it is it's a very low price that we're going to charge for that. It will be around 50 euros per final term filed. So that again, a solution where we try to help you easing the processes and have speedier turnaround times, because it's all about turnaround times in our business. So that's it so far from our side. I would really invite you to post some Q&As. From my side, a big thank as well on the person we didn't see today, but she's there. That's our event manager, Miss Angelika Gürtler, who's making sure behind the scenes and behind the curtains that this event turned approximately right. And so many thanks for your support, Angelika. Maybe going to hand back to Carlo for some additional words.
Thank you, Carlo. I hope that we have been clear in our presentations. It is a quite complicated topic, and as also probably there are different approaches in the various European member states. We understand that for issuers and for legal advisors, it can be quite complicated to know all the local practices, and I think that was really the objective of the webinar today, to give you some clarity on these various obligations, the practices in place, what the CSSF accepts as practices. We hope that we have been clear. If not, you still have the possibility to post some questions and answers. If not, then Carlo, do you want to say a few words to close?
I see Arnaud took the word, so
Okay.
Yeah, no. First of all, a big thank you to all of you, and indeed also to Angelica who made it work. And I'm conscious that the topic may have been a bit technical at times, but don't panic, because the good news is that the recording will be also made available, and you can make good use of it. And of course, our teams will remain reachable as always to address and take any questions you may have. On this note, I believe it is time for us to close this webinar, and also thanking the audience for joining us and staying with us during the full hour. We hope it was useful to you, and that as to reconnect to what I said in the introduction, we hope that it provided a good overview of the type of solutions that Luxembourg Stock Exchange as your partner can deliver. So feel free to be in touch with us after this webinar, and we look forward to seeing you for the next webinar in a few weeks' time, I'm sure. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.